Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going over this light that you see in my hand right here and that you've seen mounted on a couple rifles in the intro already. This is the Surefire Scout M600DF, DF standing for dual fuel. So this is something that people have been wanting Surefire to do for years now. They started releasing their dual fuel line earlier in the year, and the Scout light here was one of their latest offerings. I've had this one in since the first ones went out, so that certainly is a good thing because I have a good bit of time with it. I've had to recharge the batteries a couple times due to using it a good bit, so I can kind of speak to that as well. But basically it comes as you see it here with the 1913 mount. So if you guys have a 1913 mounting system, you can mount it right on there. However, it does work with any of the Scout mounts that are out there, the aftermarket ones on there for your M-lock rails, your key mod rails, for your 1913 offset rails, whatever kind of crazy Scout mounts you guys have should be compatible with this light. It also comes with a charger, and it comes with the 18650 battery. We're going to get into the battery a little bit later on here in more detail, but one thing I will tell you is that you want to have the batteries that Surefire recommends. They have a list of features in the manual I'm not going to go into because it'd be a 10-minute video on its own, but if you want to be sure you get the right one that's going to work with your light, just use the Surefire one that it comes with. But when buying other ones, definitely make sure you get the right ones because, you know, when these first came out, a lot of guys were just throwing, you know, some of the cheap 18650 Chinese ones in there, and worst case scenario, their lights were actually overheating and dying. Best case scenario, the lights just didn't work. So make sure you use the ones that Surefire recommends. Of course, you can also use the two CR123 batteries, but without too much yapping from me, we're going to go outside and check the beam pattern here of this light versus a couple other lights on the market and kind of see how it does performance-wise. And then we'll come back in, get into the details, compare it to the 600 Scout, which I think a lot of people really are going to be comparing it to. At least I was anyway. So we'll do that, and then we'll wrap the video up at the end with what I think of it overall. For those of you new to the channel, the wood fence where it's meeting up with that iron fence, it's about 35 feet away. These trees here are about 45 to 50 feet away, depending on the tree we're looking at. And this output that you guys see here is from the M300. This is the 500 lumen output one that we've already reviewed here. I just kind of wanted to give you guys a baseline so you can see how it's performing there. And then here we have the dual fuel. So that right there, and this of course is also going to be with the 18650 battery. You can see it's got a good bit more candela, and the flood is pretty impressive. I mean, I'm going to take this thing all the way off camera here. You guys can see the edge there. Stops at that fence, but the hot spot is over here off camera. I mean, so that's a good bit of flood that we're getting there. Again, here with the 300, again 500 lumen model, and then the dual fuel. Here we have the 600 lumen output Scout. So you guys can see it's got a good hot spot for sure. There's definitely a difference there. It's got some throw to it. This light is known for that, and it has an edge there on the spill. So there's definitely some spill. So you know, you guys can see the fence there. It is illuminated, the wood part I should say, but basically once we come over here you kind of lose it. But that hot spot's nice and bright, which is good. Now by comparison, there is the dual fuel. So the dual fuel, basically as I see it, and I set my camera up to be as close to what I see to my human eye, basically it's going to give you a wider hot spot, but the intensity seems to be about the same. We're going to go across the lake here for a little bit of a more throw. Again, for those new to the channel, these trees here are about 130 feet away from where we're at right now. This is the 600 lumen Surefire Scout, and then here, that's the dual fuel. So you guys can see just how much floodier it is. The actual throw in the hotspot, pretty similar overall. It's just wider, but in terms of the intensity of, you know, basically illuminating those trees out there, I'd say it's pretty similar. It's definitely a wider hotspot though, and the flood is much brighter as well. Again, here's the 600 lumen Scout, and then there we have the dual fuel. Definitely a wider hotspot, similar intensity though from what I can see here, at least to my human eye. Hopefully that's coming through across the camera. So I'm out by the fence line, and my lovely wife here is going to illuminate me here with the 600. This is the 600 lumen version of the classic Scout line. So Casey, you can just hit that real quick.
Go.
Alright, so in my hand, not sure how apparent it is to you guys, but I do have a revolver, a little 6-shot revolver. Now, in case you can use the other light, this one here is going to be the Surefire DF, the dual fuel model. So Not sure how it looks on camera to you guys. You guys are seeing it better than me. But this is kind of what it would look like if you're trying to get positive identification of somebody carrying a weapon or not carrying a weapon. With the beam comparisons out of the way, we'll kind of get into some of the details of the light here. So here we have the M300, then the M600, then the M600 dual fuel here, just to kind of give you a size comparison. We're going to be a single CR123 battery here, two CR123As here, and then also we're going to have the option to have two CR123As with the dual fuel or the 18650, like we mentioned earlier. So as you guys can see here, they're pretty similar in size, but there is a size gap. So the dual fuel here is just a touch longer. And then it's also wider in a couple different spots here. So it's wider back here. You can kind of see this bored out piece here, and it's also wider back here at the back of the head. Now, certain things will still fit. Any of your tail caps, so any of your tail caps, tape switches, anything like that that is made for Surefire Scout lights will work on this dual fuel light. So that certainly is a good thing. You guys can see here, if I can actually get them apart, that you can interchange the tail caps from either light, and that again is across the Scout series, and any aftermarket tail caps that work with the Scouts will work with the dual fuel as well. However, the heads will not. While the heads are actually the same size as you guys can see here in this photo, they're not interchangeable, and that has to do with the threading on the head here with the dual fuel. You guys can see it's just a little bit wider than it is here on the M600. So you cannot interchange those. And while we have them apart, one thing I'll kind of show you here that I found kind of interesting is this right here. So on the back of the head, you have these increased size pieces here on the dual fuel versus on the M600. And what that's for in terms of contact point is just to give you more, I guess, play in terms of contact, because the dual fuel has the ability, as the name indicates, to work with either type of battery. And as a lot of people know who follow, weapon lights and stuff like that, one thing that we found out with the Streamlight, the HLX, when it originally came out, that light is also a dual fuel light. And what we found is that sometimes we weren't getting connections when using the two CR123s. So Surefire beefed it up, and these things have a lot of give to them, a lot of play, as you guys can see, to account for the different length that you're going to get here using the different types of batteries. So that is the construction of the lights, but everything else is really going to be the same in terms of you have your O-ring seal, you have your lubricated threads, really Surefire body, all of that stuff that you're used to. It is bored out, as you guys can see there, to accept that 18650 battery, which it does come with. And you can see here the M600 will not accommodate it. The Surefire that comes with the light is the clicky tail cap that's come with Surefire Scouts for a long time now. As you guys can see, it is protected. You can tail cap stand it, so you have to intentionally hit the button, which a lot of people do, like myself included. If my camera can actually focus, we'll show you that it does have the ability to be momentarily activated by just pressing and holding. And if you want that constant on, you're just going to click it, and it's going to give you constant on until you click it off. Now, it does have good knurling around here to give you the ability to spin it off relatively quickly and also put it back on. The body itself is made out of 6061 aluminum. It does have that Type 3 hard anodizing on there. It's very durable stuff. The Surefire lights are about as durable as they get. They're certainly some of the, if not the most durable on the planet, made in the United States. You guys can see here on the head, we do have that caution hot surface, and I will tell you, this thing absolutely gets smoking hot when you run it for a while. Now, it does have an auto regulation feature. Really, in terms of when that's going to come on, it's going to depend on the environment that you're in. So if it's really hot out, obviously it's going to come on a little bit earlier than it would if you're using this in the Alaskan winter, for, let's say. You guys can see we also have a partially crenellated bezel in case you guys want to break some glass or something like that with it. And of course, the reflector looks very similar to the standard TIR reflectors, which is a good thing in my opinion. For a weapon light, particularly a rifle light, the TIR lens is an excellent option. As you guys saw with those beam patterns, you can get decent candela, decent throw, and here with the DF, you're just going to get more spill. So that certainly is a good thing. Speaking of output, let's get into the raw numbers here. With the 18650 battery, you're going to get 1500 lumens of output. With the two CR123As, you're going to get 1200 lumens of output. Your runtime with the 16 or rather the 18650 is going to be 1.5 hours versus the 1.25 hours that you get with the two CR123A batteries. Your candela with the 18650 is going to be 16,000. Just for reference, the 600 Lumen Scout that we compared it to is 16,500 candela. With the two CR123As in the Scout DF here, you're going to get 12,600 candela. And the distance, at least that Surefire rates the beam at, with your 18650 is going to be 250 meters, and with the two CR123As, it's going to be 220 meters. We covered most of the features of the light, but I can already hear people typing down below in the comment section that 1500 lumens is too much for home defense and you're going to blind yourself and whatever else people say on the internet. So let's address that. First off, 1500 lumens and 16,000 candela is not too much in my opinion. I have tested this. I live in a house that has white walls. I've never been temporarily blinded using this light or any other light throughout my years of shooting indoors and outdoors with white lights, which at this point is well over 10 years. So at this point, I think that's kind of a moot thing. And the people that say things like that just generally don't go out and do it. And they just kind of think about it rather than actually doing the training and doing the dry fire and stuff like that. So it's absolutely not too much. And one thing that's nice about having that 16,000 candela specifically is that in terms of smoke, fog, whatever the case may be, that candela pushes through it really well. And that's really where you need it versus that floody type of beam. So if you think about it, if you're indoors and you start firing off rounds, what's going to happen, right? There's going to be smoke in the air. So that candela is going to push through that and give you the ability to see beyond any kind of smoke fog barriers that would otherwise be there if you had less candela. So that is a good thing. Additionally, the flood, of course, is also a good thing, and being able to, say you're a patrol officer, military, whatever the case may be, being able to positively identify things at increased distances is always a good thing, right? So you want to know what's in that person's hand, if that guy's a good guy or a bad guy, all of those sorts of things is a good thing. Additionally, the ability to take 18650s, also a very good thing, specifically for training, right? So a lot of guys go out and train, take low light courses, or go out and do low light hunting, whatever the case may be, and they're out there going through a lot of batteries a year. The 18650s, of course, reduce that and give you the ability to save some money because CR123s are expensive. There's no getting around it. However, the downside to the 18650s from a practical use standpoint is that if this is going to be on your primary home defense gun and you don't actually use it a lot, you definitely need to do a couple things. Number one, either charge your battery every couple months, or two, just use CR123s. So me personally, this is going on my home defense gun. As soon as this video is over, I will be using two CR123s because me running the channel, I have tons of guns to shoot. It's not that I don't shoot my home defense gun. I generally do every 6 months or so, but it's not a ton. And generally it just sits there in the ready condition for when I need it. So for me, this one's gonna have the CR123s in there because 18650s have a tendency to lose their charge over time, for those that don't know that. So it's just something to consider. However, if you're taking courses, stuff like that, by all means, use that 18650 and save yourself some money. Speaking of money, these things, I think, on Surefire's site are going for $299 currently. However, I believe the map pricing, which is what you're going to see on Amazon, other places like that, is $269. We will put links down below for all of this. If you guys are watching over on Facebook or Full30, we'll have links that are going to get you a little bit better pricing than that, which is always good as well. I just can't post those on YouTube for those folks watching that. So, yeah, I mean, that's it. The weight differences are exactly what you guys see here on your screen. It is a little bit heavier than the 600. And also, if you're going to use the 18650s, it's a little bit heavier than using the two CR123s. So I know that's important for a lot of guys running ARs, particularly where you're going to mount your light out there on the end. That's the worst place for weight. So that sort of is something that you guys are going to have to decide if it's, you know, worth it over the 600 or not. Given the performance output differences. Again, that's up to you guys to decide. I just present the info here, but all in all, very happy with this light. Surefire is just bomb-proof in terms of their construction and durability, and the reputation is well-earned, made in the USA like I talked about, and yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions about the light, by all means, post down below in the comments section. You can also post over at my Facebook page as always. But thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing, and I hope to see all of you in the next video. pretty darn good at that distance.